Hello. I think you need to turn your microphone on, Rachel.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Great. This is so exciting.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hopefully that will be the only technical snafu that we'll have here. This is so exciting. We are here to talk about toxic fandom. It's kind of I was assigned to talk about it, and then it kind of hit me with the sort of gravity of the topic, and I'm like, oh, I hope I can do it justice. And of course, I wanted to have you on with me because we have been doing Sunday Devotionals every Sunday since COVID started.
Yep.
And so we've become pretty good friends. We were friends before, but more so through this whole experience. And so yeah, it's going to be a really fun time, and I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's thoughts in the comment section. And let's talk about it. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
So before we start, I want to share a little clip reel with everybody, and hopefully this all works. So here we go. Here. Okay. Okay, here we go. Sorry about this. Okay, hopefully you can all hear this.
I can't hear it yet.
Oh, you can't hear it?
Not yet, no.
Yeah.
Technology. It's a wonderful thing, and it's a difficult thing.
Okay, let me try again. I don't know how do I... Sorry. Darn it. Okay, let me try again. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Share audio. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, now.
I love it. The
try it
infinite
again.
squares.
I know.
I counted up today when I was
There we go.
I got 27 hate mails, all from women, because I liked this movie and everybody hated it.
No, I do not think that these were like women standing up for Captain Marvel that were tweeting me, but they were saying they were women who were like, how dare you go against the feminist code of, not liking Captain Marvel. And I was like, I didn't say it was bad. They're like,
I tore that movie apart to the point where I got death threats over the movie.
Oh my God.
And I was like, wow, guys, like, this is a movie about food. Like, can we please get perspective on it? And I wrote a really, really negative review, and to the point where I had to remove it from the website because people were finding my personal emails and my personal Facebook and stuff and coming after me.
I hated Joker.
Yeah.
I got death threats for my review. I had to go to the cops to report a death threat. And that was not a fun experience. I mean, having to pretty much turn all your social accounts private, warn your family about death threats and all that fun stuff. I mean, there was someone on Instagram that pretty much was doing targeted harassment.
Well, the biggest thing that was the problem that got me targeted in that movie review was because I was only, I think, the third critic to give it a negative on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was the first and one of the only women. And so there was an organization called F Marvel Tards that tagged me. I know they did. And because I got the tag notice, whatever, and they sent their goons out after me, and that's when I got the mass shooting threats, and it was insane. To me, that's a totally valid point. And there were people like, "Oh, you're not even going to give the movie a chance because you're going into it expecting it." Like, and I was like, I made one point about how I was a little nervous.
I did not like it, and people that was the most hate mail I've ever got. Was how could I not love that movie?
Yeah.
And I've tried to rewatch it, and my opinion, it stayed the same. And
Like saying these horrible, I mean, not just you suck as a reviewer. I mean, that I'm used to, but
Yeah.
he really went for the jugular about me being Jewish and about me being male. Just you name it, the way I look, you name it. They like, I mean, to the point where it's like, your family will die. This is not a joke. It wasn't just me, it was my family. You know, why like your people should have burned in the Holocaust, your family. I mean, it was just, you couldn't believe it. It was shocking. I actually got up and left the screening.
My review goes out and I start getting like hammered on Twitter and people describing the ways they want to see me die and saying, you know, things about my husband and my kid, like, oh, you know, I wish your kid hadn't been born. I wish he'd been born with birth defects, you know, things like you must not be satisfying your husband. I mean, you know.
There we go. So let me stop sharing. Okay, I think, is it good? Are we good? Okay.
We're good.
All right. So hopefully it looks like they got, everybody was able to hear that. Everything was able to. So what is your initial, you hear that, and what is your initial thought about that, those experiences in that video?
It's just sad because movies is art. And maybe I have this perspective because my grandma was an artist, but, you know, and she did, you know, all kinds of different paintings. And her thing always walking me through, it's art, you know, and some of it hits you and some of it doesn't. And that's okay, because if it's not for you, it's not for you. And for some people, the whole superhero craze, they have superhero fatigue, and it's not for them. I can't get enough. Give me more DC and give me more Marvel. And in the midst of that, there might be stuff I love. There might be stuff I don't like. And it's kind of sad that here's something that's fiction. Here's something that's art. And you know, we're reviewers. So like what we want to do is we do want to take it apart. And the reason we're doing this is because for us, it's fun to take it apart. It's fun to look at the working parts and talk for us about what worked and what didn't work. I mean, part of that is what's fun for us. And so it's hard when we're doing what's fun for us and we're talking about what stood out to us, what speaks to us, what doesn't speak to us. And then to get those kinds of responses, it's sometimes it's just flat out scary. And at the least, it's just incredibly frustrating.
Yeah. And sometimes I have to wonder, it's like, did you even watch the movie? Like people that are sending Daniel Salzman death threats over Joker. I'm thinking, did you watch that movie? Did you understand what the movie was trying to say at all? I mean,
and
the whole point of that movie. I mean, I didn't love it, but like the whole point of that movie was about how we're ostracizing people and treating people cruelly, and like, it's the whole point.
That is the point of that movie. Which speaking of that. Long before that movie came out, I did a reaction video. And I don't know if you're ready to talk about this yet, but I did this reaction video when they first released a picture of Joker's face. So to defend myself just a little bit, all it was, if you guys can remember back that far, all it was just the picture of Joaquin Phoenix's face and the clown makeup. And in my mind, I just went, he just looks like a circus clown. And so I did this video and it was negative because it was a negative reaction. And when I say negative, I don't mean I just sat there and I bashed it and this movie's going to be awful. In fact, if you guys go back and you check out that reaction video that I did, one of the things that I even said in that video is I have to remember this is out of context. If in the context of his costume and in the film, this could probably work and be incredibly awesome. But right now, out of context and just seeing this, I don't entirely like that off the top. And I really did try to frame it that way because I realized what I was looking at. So I ended up with 74 likes, 271 dislikes, which leads to 345 engagements of people that hit likes and that dislike button. And I had 154 comments. And, you know, most of those disagreed with me, but they were polite about it. But then there were those that were, how long are you going to hold on to that hair of yours? Just let it go, man. So they didn't like the video. And so rather than commenting on my content and what I said, and it's not a death threat or anything, but it's still mean, right?
Yeah, it's still mean.
They went right past what I said and wouldn't engage me in my thoughts or my opinion. And they went for what they thought would hurt my feelings the most.
It's like all the people that will think they're really hurting my feelings if they say I'm fat in a video. And I'm just kind of like, do you think this is new? Do you think you're the first person that's ever said that to me? I mean, I wouldn't be putting myself out here on YouTube if that was going to hurt my feelings. Are you kidding me right now? And so it's just like, well, you might have had something interesting to say, but now I don't care what, because you're obviously stupid. You're not interesting to me at all. If you think that is going to hurt my feelings, it's just ridiculous.
But to me, it was just an interesting thing because one person, all they did was they wrote moron in the comment. And I remember what I wrote back to them. I didn't write it down in my notes, but I remember writing back, why the name calling? Why not just engage me in this? Okay, so you disagree with me. We're going to have a far better conversation if you just tell me why you disagree with me, and then we could have a really cool DC conversation. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, so because we disagree, you can't have a good conversation. You have to attack me viciously over something that is fiction rather than have a cool conversation about something that is fiction. Obviously, you're passionate and I'm passionate. Think of what we're missing out on right now.
Yeah, the chance to be passionate together. Like, and in discussing toxic fandom, I don't think that we are saying to whitewash and to give bland answers to that. I want your passion. I want you. Like, I don't have any problem with people even strongly disagreeing with me. I encourage it, but it's just, it's so frustrating because sometimes people will actually have a pretty decent comment and then they're like, you know, then they'll end it off with you fat, you know, whatever. And I'm like, well, you just ruined it. You were doing so good.
Yes. It's like,
I was pulling for you.
I mean, let's take you and me. You and me disagree on Man of Steel. You dislike it, but I love it. But I think you and me have had great conversations without compromising our opinion on it.
Yeah,
and because you and me, we don't compromise our opinion, it gives us that ability to have a fantastic conversation. Like, you caused me to look at Man of Steel in ways that I wouldn't have before.
Same.
And I hope, I'm hoping I do that same for you. And I think that's supposed to be the fun in it. For instance, also, I don't like Batman v Superman as much, but I got a really good friend I went to high school with who loves it. He's got a channel built, and he started talking about the Snyder Cut and how much he loved Batman versus Superman. But his love for it gave me a different respect for the movie that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why we should have different opinions. It's so difficult when you just go straight to the name calling and threats, because it's like, well, this is fiction. You're missing the point of the conversation.
Yeah. So we're getting in the comment section, we're getting some good feedback here. We have Haley. She says, the only issue I have had is not being a huge fan of Parasite and people telling me that I wasn't clever enough to understand it. And that's also extremely frustrating when people will just dismiss what you have to say because, well, you're just not smart enough. Like,
yes. I actually, Haley, I did a video for The Last Jedi, and I entitled that video A Raw Conversation About Movie Expectations. And what it became about was toxic fandom. I had my nephews watch The Last Jedi, so I was watching it with them and their dad and my other brother-in-law, and we were watching it, and their childlike wonder, like the three of us adults did not like that movie, but their childlike wonder caused us to have fun in the experience, even if we didn't like the movie. So I did a video about that, and somebody's comment in the video was, well, then you're just stupid. If you want me to watch a movie like a child, then, you know, you're just that. And all they did was they called me stupid, like I didn't get it, and like I didn't get Star Wars.
Right.
I'm like, what?
He's like, I'm just trying to have a different perspective. I'm just trying to think about this in a new way. Congratulations for high point. Yeah, I think that a lot of this, I was trying to think of what is it that causes this to happen? Why do we behave this way? And I think a lot of it is our need for some kind of tribal identity, that we, as a human being, we want to be connected with others. It's just an innate desire. And it used to be you kind of got that tribal identity from your family, from your friends, and increasingly, especially in this world of quarantine, you have to look to strangers online to form this kind of tribal identity. And belonging to something is really important to humans. That's how we work. And so we've kind of formed this tribal identity with other people who like the same stuff that we do. And so if you criticize this thing that we like, you are not just criticizing the thing we like, you are criticizing us and our tribe. And that's where I think it gets into problems.
Yeah. You and I were having a conversation off camera before one of our Sunday devotionals, and it was about like the tribe of Marvel and the tribe of DC. And I think sometimes that DC tribe can be a little bit more toxic. And as I'm thinking about it, I think it's because Marvel kind of runs things right now with the MCU. They are the most popular. And you know what? I'm a DC. I love DC. But I have to admit, the MCU is incredible. And even the worst movies in the MCU, I still absolutely love. Like, I love the MCU. And the DCEU just, until recently, hadn't really been connecting with fans the way we had all hoped. And so when you have that tribal identity, it's like, but you can't talk about my DC. DC is awesome. And so it's almost sometimes out of this thing of insecurity of, no, you can't come against my team. And sometimes because I am a DC, when I do a DC video, I'm a little bit more critical of it. Not because I don't love it, but because I really do love it. Yeah. And so I have my own thoughts. I have my own opinions with these characters I love, with things that I'd like to see. And so sometimes it does make me a little bit more critical, but it doesn't make my love for DC any less. And I wish that, we could understand that. If you belong to Marvel, if you belong to DC, it's all superheroes. It's fun. And that's the point of being a Marvel or a DC is having fun with that.
Yeah, and I think these tribal sort of divisions can be a positive thing. It can give us a sense of belonging. It can give us a sense of something that we have in common with people. It can form bonds with people. We can make friends. All those things can be really positive. But I think that we need to also sort of be cognizant of what tribe we're in. And because that's the thing that causes wars and horrible atrocities, is when people when you lose the humanity of other people, then that gives you cause to do horrible things to them. And so I mean that's how people justify all kinds of horrific things that have happened in history, whether you're talking about the Holocaust. And I'm not saying Toxic Fandom is on that level, but I'm just saying that it's the same kind of mentality that I've grouped this other person in a group, and I've made them therefore less human than myself. So I can do horrible things to them, and I can treat them horribly. And so we have to be kind of cognizant of that, and that I'm in this group and it's a great thing and I love it and that's awesome, and I am gonna defend it, and that's great too. But I'm not going to allow it to treat other people the way I wouldn't want to be treated, and the way that they deserve, just as humans deserve to be treated. And I thought a lot about actually in the Breakfast Club. Because in the Breakfast Club, you have 5 teens who are in all these different cliques, right? Yep. And you have Brian, a character, the kind of the nerdy character, and he says, "What is going to happen to us on Monday? Are we still going to be friends?" And that's when Claire says, "Do you want the truth?" "I don't think so." And then they kind of hash it out that basically, like, she's not going to be able to be friends with him because of her friends. And they have this whole situation, And I think that the internet only confounds that, because not only are we behaving differently in groups, but we can be keyboard warriors and not face social or personal repercussions of our behavior. In the Breakfast Club, they're all shocked when Brian confesses about a suicide attempt. But on the internet, you can tell somebody to commit suicide and face no major social repercussions.
Yeah. It's weird because like being able to, in a sense, hide behind that keyboard gives this false sense of superiority. Like, they don't see my face. And to be honest, like to them, we're just the thing on the screen. So they're seeing our edited videos and that polish, and that's what they're railing against. And so it's not something human they're railing against, and they feel safe behind that keyboard. But then I also got to say this to fellow YouTubers, you got to be careful in your response, because you never know when that's a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you don't know who's on the other side of that keyboard, nor does the person on the other side of that keyboard realize the human that is delivering that content. It's too easy. Even like you said in your example, like we get in our clicks, and it's so easy to get separated by that and miss the humanity. And the internet does a good job of helping us miss that humanity all the more. We got to remember we're all humans on each side of that screen. We're humans. We got thoughts, we got feelings, and we got to remember that.
Yeah. And that if you imagine that these people are your brother, your sister, or one of your tribe members, like how angry would you feel if one of your friends was told to go kill himself? And yet that happens all the time. And you're just like, what? And it's especially when it's just people that are trying to do their job, like if it's that they a lot of times don't even really want to put themselves out there. It's not like they're making really contentious videos or something like that, right? They just they're just doing their job, and they're just reviewing a movie because that's their job. And like the propagandists, I can kind of understand a little bit more, but nevertheless, like you should treat people the way that you would want to be treated. And it's the oldest lesson in the book.
Yeah. It's funny because I've had some cases, even recently, where people have commented such rude things on my channel. And, it's weird because it does strike a chord. Like sometimes I read that stuff and I'm like, you don't even know me. Look at the judgments you're making. And I want to type something mean back, but I found in some cases, and probably my favorite, in my first year of YouTube. So I'm still learning how to review movies. I'm still getting my feet under me. I don't know what I'm doing. I reviewed a movie and I gave it a fairly negative grade. And this guy, he just absolutely blasted me. And, he's, let me see if I can find like the rudest thing. I think you're a hater is all, and your review sucked, and you didn't even give good reasons for not liking it. You should save your light bill and not make reviews anymore. And ended that with a smiley face.
Yeah, right.
And so I responded saying, I appreciate your feedback, and said, I'm have a spoiler talk coming out where I get into more detail about it.
Yeah.
And I got really nice about it. And the guy wrote, he wrote back, you know what? I'm going to subscribe because you handle trolling well. So the dude admitted that he was trolling me, and it was a mean comment to be mean, but he then was nice and went the next level and watched my spoiler talk and commented, goes, that was much better. See, you gave your reasons. And I was like, okay, so by responding nice to this guy, I humanized him. And in the process, it humanized me to him. And this isn't in every case. Some people are just mean and they're not going to do this. But I found when I treated him the way that I wanted him to treat me, it went past that guard, and he ended up becoming a subscriber in those early years of my channel.
Yeah. And you can say that you think I'm an idiot. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
If you think that my review is stupid, that's fine. That's a valid point. Fine. That's fine. But it's just when they take it to that next step is where the problems reside. And when I'm having to notify the FBI of a mass shooting threat because of my review for Shazam, that's where we're getting into problems.
Exactly.
We cross the line.
And that's beyond the pale. It's just like, come on, it's Shazam. All right. It's a fine movie, but it's Shazam.
Like, it's fine. Like, if people, I can totally see why people loved it, and I didn't hate it. I just couldn't give it fresh, and that's one of the problems with Rotten Tomatoes is that no, people don't care what you have to say or your reasons. You gave it rotten. You hate it. You're awful. You're against our tribe. You're against who I am as a person, and that's all, all that matters. And I don't know. I think that what has also happened is sort of what we dealt with sports for a long time now is kind of crept into these giant corporations. Like, you used to feel like, well, you can't criticize if you're a Yankees fan, if you're a Red Sox fan, or whatever it might be. You can't criticize. Then you're criticizing me and my team. But the thing that's, like, I guess, better about sports in this regard is that sports has obvious winners and losers. And that's not the case with art and with film. And so, like, there's no, people just like whatever they like. I mean, I have things that are I have movies that are under 10% on Rotten Tomatoes that I like, or under 20%. I mean, I love Fran Drescher, and she's been in some stinkers. I still love her. And and so, it's just, it takes that mentality over that we have with sports. And now it's these giant mega corporations who know how to fan these flames and to do things so that they make money off of these toxic fandoms. And whether it's DC or Marvel or Star Wars or whatever, don't think for a second that these giant corporations don't thrive off of this kind of negativity, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how negativity works, because it's like people love to hate. I worked in Christian radio for about 14 years, and two of the stations I worked at were talk stations. And some of the shows that had the highest ratings and the most listens are shows where they were so abundantly opinionated and kind of negative in how they gave their views, because people like to argue back. And so what I found, like, for instance, in my Joker reaction, like I talked about, there were 345 people total that hit the like or dislike button, 271 dislikes, 74 likes, 154 comments total when I had a negative reaction to that picture of the Joker. Well, the next day, they released the full costume, the full makeup, and it was showing the footage of him in that subway, and he threw the clown mask in the trash can. And when I saw that in motion, I saw it in action, I saw the makeup with the costume, I went, yeah, that works. So I did a second reaction video, and I had 119 likes, 20 dislikes. So that was only 139 people against 345 in the first video. So less engagement, even though, and less comments. I had 79 comments versus the 154 comments. So it's funny, when I went more positive and it was less argumentative, I guess, I had a lot less engagement in the comments and stuff. And that's kind of disheartening, because on my channel, I don't want to be negative. If I don't like something, I want to be able to say that, and say that freely. But there's ways you could do that without, being negative. So I try to do it that way. But it's funny, because that Joker thing became a very interesting lesson in me, because number one, I'm not going to react to costume stuff out of context anymore. I did not like the reactions I got when I reacted to the Joker that way. But number two, it was a real revelation to me, like how that works, and how the studios can thrive off of that negativity, because it really does fan the flame. So my first reaction video fanned the flame, and I had a ton of stuff in the comments. And the second one didn't fan that flame as much, because I saw it and I went, okay, see, this is what I talked about in my video. Now I've seen that makeup in context. I've seen it in action, and they should have released this first. And I really liked what I saw in this, and it had less comments, and I was really surprised by that.
Yeah, it can be really discouraging. And Haley in the comments, she says, I love Star Wars, even the latest film. And I'm steering clear of reviewing on Instagram because I don't want to attract the people who get quite nasty with people who enjoy these movies. And that makes me sad, because we're losing her voice. And I don't fault her at all for doing that, because I can totally relate. I held off reviewing Birds of Prey for a long time. I finally posted my review along with my friend Ryan Kim, who does a podcast with me every Friday. So I had another person to kind of talk about it with, and I felt a little bit safer there in doing that. But I held off because I was scared. I mean, I did not want to go through what I had gone through with. I mean, I liked Birds of Prey, so it was, I guess, going to be a little bit easier. But it's kind of no win with these comic book movies, because if you like it, then you're stupid, or you're bought and paid, or whatever it might be. But if you don't like it, you're a hater. And
well, it's like what Haley said about Star Wars. To me, that's the same thing. I had different reactions to The Last Jedi. The first time I saw it on the big screen, I thought it was okay. I enjoyed it. The second time I saw it, I liked it a little bit less. It's kind of like my opinion on it refined the more I saw it. Up until the last time I watched it, I went, I don't know if this director gets Star Wars. Like that was my thoughts the last time I watched it. But it's funny because I could get online and say, I love The Last Jedi, and I'm going to get haters like crazy, Haley. Or I could get online and say, I love The Last Jedi, and I'm going to get haters like crazy. I did like The Rise of Skywalker. I thought it was a fine movie. Yeah. And when I consider the fact that it had no plan, that the whole trilogy had no plan, I was like, okay, for pulling that out of thin air, that's not the worst. I could see where it could have been way better, though. Like, there is so much potential for this to have been fantastic, and it wasn't there. But even saying that, it's amazing how if I say I like it, I will get the haters. If I say I don't like it, I'll get the haters, which is sad. It's Star Wars. Star Wars is just fun to talk about. It should be just fun to talk about.
And it's interesting because Lux Reviews, he says, controversy equals more engagement. He says, I mean, for me, it's the same thing. I'm more interested in a controversial opinion than a popular one that leads to it being shared around more engagement. So there's no doubt about it. If you want to host content that you're going to get a lot of views, certainly a big way to do that is to post 1 million videos about Brie Larson and how much you hate her, or 1 million. You're going to do it's a fact. Your channel is going to do well. That's true. But I guess you have to decide what kind of human you want to be.
Yeah.
You want to be like that, and you want to live your life that way, then I don't know what to say to you, because that is not how I want to live my life, and that is not a kind of person I want to be. And so, I don't know. I mean, it is true. You are going to get more if you call that engagement. I don't really call it engagement, but it's profitable. So, which is sad.
And the thing is, it's like I am interested in opinions that are different from mine. So on my channel, I want to be able to be strong and give my opinion on a movie. Sometimes that's scary. It just is, because, you want your channel to be successful. You want to have thoughts that other people aren't having. You want to be yourself and just give yourself on that channel. But that's where it can get scary, when people get mean in their disagreement and get scary with their disagreement. So like, I walk that line on my channel. I have my opinion. I'm going to be honest about my opinion. But I also want to word that in a way that if your opinion is different, I want you to feel safe on my channel to give your different opinion, and know you and me at least will have good engagement, positive engagement back and forth. But sometimes that's not always so popular to do it that way. And so it's difficult to even walk that line.
Yeah. I thought I would share real quick, because we have to be careful. It's not only that there are these corporations that are trying to stoke this kind of outrage because it's profitable for them, but there are definitely YouTube channels, and there are Facebook groups and other things where that's their whole thing is to stoke this kind of outrage and this kind of thing. And so I thought I'd just share really quick what happened to me.
Okay.
And so this group on Facebook, after I posted my review, things had like calmed down for a day or two, and then I got tagged by this group. You'll see. I won't say that the profanities, but I apologize. But they made it their mission that they were going to get me off of Rotten Tomatoes, and that I am this RT sheep is spoiled by Disney movies. Let's invade her profile and teach her a lesson. She just deleted her Shazam review, which it had been so bad that I needed a breath. I needed a moment, and so I made it private for a couple of hours. And then we make sure she deletes herself from Facebook and YouTube and never reviews a DC film. And then about an hour later, I get this in my messages, which can everybody you can see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
Well, now we have the infinite tunnel. There we go.
Okay, so I did I stop? Sorry, I'm like not the best at this technology thing. So then I got this horrible threat, and there we go. Are we back? Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah. So then I get this threat, and where they're going to kill me and my family, and it was an insane experience. And I have to say, as far as the positives, is I did realize who my friends are, and there were so many people who were horrified by this and supported me. I see Sean Chandler's in the comments, and he was incredibly supportive of me. Just a bunch of my friends kind of reached out to me and were there for me, and I appreciated it. My brother came down and stayed with me, and I was crying, and I'm just like I was watching a Hallmark movie, and I'm just like, are we okay? I'll just watch. And I thought that I was pretty strong. I had been posting blogs and other things for almost a decade, and I thought that I was pretty strong and that I could take it, and it really threw me. It really did. And so they had to notify the screening company, of course, when there's this kind of thing happening. Mm-hmm. And then I had to have escorts to and from screenings, which was just a weird experience to have, but I'm grateful they took it very seriously. And then they had to notify Warner Brothers that this had happened. And so it was just, wow. The whole thing was nuts. And I don't know. It's something that it definitely changed who I am as a person, which maybe that's kind of sad, but I just had a really hard time kind of getting over it and being strong again. And when I finally, just this last week, I finally had the guts to post about DC content again on my channel. And I posted my thoughts on the DC fandom, which were some positive, some negative. Yeah. And I have a small channel, so it's fine. But I don't know. People need to understand that this really does impact people, and that it's not just a joke.
Yeah. And this is where our conversation goes back full circle to what you said earlier. It's the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. And it's just movies. And it's hard to say that because I have a movie channel. I'm passionate about movies. In fact, I am Team DC. I love the MCU so much, and I love what the MCU has given us. But when they did DC Fandom, I was like waving my DC flags. I mean, I was so excited. I even got excited for the Suicide Squad, and I didn't like the first Suicide Squad. So I was cheering on my team, DC, during that time. But treat others the way you want to be treated. I love being Team DC because I'm passionate about DC characters. I also love Marvel characters. It just shows you that I'm passionate about superheroes. But we got to remember that humanity and treat others the way we want to be treated. if you're watching my channel and you firmly disagree with me, or you're watching Rachel's channel and you firmly disagree with her, that should be something to say, that's awesome. Think of this great conversation we're going to have.
Yeah.
Rachel, some of my favorite Superman conversations have been with you because you don't like Man of Steel. And I love digging deeper into that movie and finding more reasons why I liked it because you didn't like it. You know, I don't know, like I enjoy that difference of opinion, and I enjoy that conversation so much. And I feel like when we don't treat others the way we want to be treated, when the keyboard warriors forget that's a human over there and we're arguing over art. And then also when the YouTuber forgets that could be a 12-year-old over on the keyboard, and we both miss the humanity, we miss great opportunities to really have fulfilling conversations about what means something to us.
Yeah. Yeah. And you miss out. And I think a lot of times those profitable YouTube channels, they're not something that is going to last. If that's their only content, that they are, making a million videos about Brie Larson, and it's not something that is going to, I doubt in 5 years, 10 years, that you're going to see those same people, doing that same. Obviously they probably will move on to the next thing that they can trash. But I don't know. I feel like even most of those, they are people that don't last very long. They don't have any lasting legacy. So, what do you want? What do you want out of your life? Do you want something that actually matters, and to make real friends, and to actually, and I was thinking about it that most of us, when we watch Back to the Future, we relate to either Marty or George McFly, and we want to be in their situation. But are we being the Biff Tannens of the world? Is that who we have ended up becoming? And is that what you want out of your life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's a really great analogy. I love that trilogy. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be a Biff Tannen. Oh man, that's a good one.
Yeah. And Colleen, one of my friends, Colleen Lowe, she says, I knew you'd bring up Hallmark in this conversation. What a scary time. And I have to say that Love to the Rescue saved the day. It was always a special place in my heart because it was the movie that I watched when I was kind of having a panic attack over all of this, and I love that movie. So we all have our safe spaces, I guess.
Yeah, we do. My safe space, 1993's Jurassic Park. Such a fond memory. And I did a ranking video of Jurassic Park probably about a year ago. And just the other day, somebody commented, only weak people like weak movies like this. So I asked, what's your favorite movie then? And they said, and then, I just kind of continued with that, said, so what's your favorite movie? I just really like these movies. I think they're great. And, kind of went back and forth on him. And he goes, like I said, you're weak. And I'm like, man, I gave you an opportunity. I asked you, what's your favorite movie? We could have had that in common. Like, if you seriously, you missed something great because you insulted my taste. But that's the thing. It's my taste. So tell me about yours.
Yeah, I mean, and decrying toxic fandom does not mean making a whole bunch of yes men.
No.
It's about treating people with respect and being interested in what other people have to say. And I think that when you think about that YouTube video that you and I did with Ren and Chandler about Man of Steel, like that was one of the most passionate videos that I've been a part of.
Yeah.
We had really passionate discussion, but it was very respectful and it was so interesting. It was so much better. And so it does not mean that you just have to be a yes man to whatever is popular, whatever is going on at all. Yeah. And in fact, I try when I put out a podcast, I I specifically try to have different opinions as much as possible about things. I'm not interested in gush podcasts, as I call it, where people are just saying how great they think something is. Like, to me, I'm interested in critical analysis. I'm interested in having a discussion. And so that, that's what we try to do. Even at something like Hallmarkies podcast, you'll see tomorrow, if people listen to the Hallmarkies podcast, the live episode that we're going to be doing, you'll see the kind of discussion that we have where we talk about the good and the bad, and even about these silly Hallmark movies. To me, that is interesting. That's where you want to be. That's something that I think is actually going to last. That's something that's going to have a legacy of people enjoying your content, as opposed to being a trend chaser. It's not going to last. You're just going to be replaced by the next person instead of having an actual point of view.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the thing on your channel, not to be a yes man. And that's what I liked about that video that we did about Man of Steel. I mean, they brought you on because of your thoughts towards Man of Steel. They brought me on because of my thoughts towards Man of Steel. And they knew that would inspire good conversation. And they also knew each of us was respectful about the other's opinion. Respect didn't end the passion in the conversation. It just made it something awesome instead of something destructive.
Yeah. So what do you think, if you were going to give advice, both as people that are watching videos and people making videos or podcasts, to try to make this better? How do we make this better? I'd be curious in the comment section for your feedback as well. How do we make this better?
I think as content creators, we do have to be fearless. And I say that as one who does. I honestly do struggle with that, because I don't like the toxic part. And so I try to look at things from both sides. And I think sometimes that can make me a little more vanilla when I need to really pick a flavor and just be honest about what I feel. Being honest about what I feel about something doesn't mean I have to be a jerk about that.
Yeah.
And so from the creator side, I'd say just do what I'm working on. We got to overcome fear and just say what we honestly think. And when that jerk comes, because there will always be that jerk, you never know when that jerk is a 12-year-old. Like, you don't know that person on the other side of that keyboard. And to the person on the other side of that keyboard, I'd say, that's awesome that you have so much passion, that you disagree with that person who's talking right now. But they're also a person. Yeah. And I would say to you, think about the conversation you could have that would be so cool and so good that you could stand your ground and stand your opinion, but have an informed opinion without being mean. Because when we're mean, it raises the shields and there can be no meaningful conversation. But when we can drop that, the shields will drop, and we can actually do what we're intending to do with art, with film, and have meaningful conversation about our completely different opinions. Honestly, it's the people who disagree with me with respect in the comments where we can actually have the most back and forth and the most interesting discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's true. Trying to have your own voice, trying to speak out. And I think there's a time and place for engaging with fans. And there's a time and place for just ignoring that. And there's a time and place. It just depends on where you are at emotionally. I would not feel, I don't think anyone should feel badly if you're like, I'm going to sit this one out. I'm not going to engage with this. And that's what I did earlier this year with Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
But then also recognizing the power of your voice and taking that leap of faith and finding a way to speak out too, because we do need your voice. We need what you have to say. And so there's a balance there, and I haven't figured out that balance completely. It's a day-to-day situation, but I think that's what we have to try to do as best we can. I also think that you use whatever you can to report when you see it, and to block if needed, mute if needed, whatever, depending on the situation, of course. And then engage with the right kind of people, and you start to build a loyal audience that will then support you when those people are being terrible. And so that's what I would recommend. And I think sometimes maybe people are like hesitant to leave comments or just listen to the product, which is fine. But I do think I would encourage people, if there's something that you like, especially if you know that the person's video is kind of maybe a little controversial, I'd encourage you, please put a comment in, support and share the video, and it can go a long way. And it's just a small, simple, nice thing that you can do for people to make them feel good about themselves. And so I would encourage people to do that. But yeah, Haley makes up a good point. Says, but it's not just reviewers. Celebrities are being chased off social media by threatening comments such as Daisy Ridley. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I mean, I only got like a 10th of what some people, because I think I used to have like a little bit of an attitude of like, well, they're famous, so that they asked for it. And I think I got a small portion, and it was incredibly difficult. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I don't know how Ryan Johnson or someone like that is still functioning as a human, because I got a tiny little bit of what they have been through, and it is brutal. So yeah,
I don't know how Ryan Johnson does it, because even I made that comment. Did he really get Star Wars? Like, that was the last impression I had the last time I watched The Last Jedi. So if he's watching, he's a talented director. And I feel like anybody who's a director or actor who was offered Star Wars, they'd be foolish to say no. You take Star Wars. But, it's like, it's got to be difficult because, they're trying to take risks. They're trying to do something different.
And I didn't like that movie, but it doesn't matter. He's still a human being.
Yes, he is still a human being.
Yeah. So a guy at the movies, he says, I feel like there is a respect factor as well, which has been lost in society. The ability to respect opinions that are different than ours and know that it's okay to disagree. Yeah, exactly. It's fun. Yeah. This should be a fun thing. People should be allowed to have whatever opinion they want to have, and we should have a fun discussion. And we should not be the Biff Tannens of the world. We should be the George McFlys.
Yes,
please. So we're almost out of time. So I think we covered basically everything. But you definitely realize who your friends are when these kind of situations happen. And I found these stages of toxic fandom. It goes, I love this. I own this. I control this. I can't control this. I hate this. I must destroy this.
Yep. Yeah. That sounds like the levels.
Let's just stop at level 1. I love this. Let's do it. Can we all agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So I hope that you all found this interesting as we were talking about this issue, and try to be supportive of your creator that you like, whether it's a blogger, podcaster, YouTuber, and let's all try to be positive influences and not feed into this toxic fandom. I think that would be amazing. So Thank you so much also to the great comments that we got. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah. So where can people find you and your content?
Well, my channel is, as you can see right there, Durban. Wait, I can't point the right way.
You got it.
Whatever. Durbania. You'll find it. Just type Durbania in that search. I'm the one and only channel that'll pop up. I do movie reviews. I rank movies, but I do this thing called a theological analysis, where I like to go through movies and find God and biblical messages in movies and pull that out. And so definitely come hang out with me. I think we'll have a good time with that.
Yes, you all should definitely check it out. It's really good. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. You can find me there. And each Sunday since COVID, since church was canceled, we're both Christian. And so we have been doing Sunday Devotionals every Sunday where we try to make them non-denominational Christian. And we talk about a topic. And so last week was on self-confidence. And so we're going to keep doing it until church comes back or whatever. I don't know, but we've really been enjoying it. So if that sounds interesting to you, we would love to have you over on my channel for that every week. And and you can also see me at the Hallmarkies or hear me at the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're going to be doing our first live episode tomorrow here for the film festival, where we're going to be talking about the movie Hitch tomorrow. So that's going to be super fun. So make sure that you're there for that as well. So there we go. We did it. Yay.
We did it.